Welcome to Freedom Lovin'. This is Kevin, and this is episode number 6. And in just a minute, I have an interview coming up with Ryan Nicodemus of theminimalists.com. I actually met Ryan a few years back, I think 2 or 3 years ago in San Diego, and he and his partner Joshua were on a book tour, and they were stopping by just coffee shops, and they swung by San Diego, and we all met at a coffee shop, and really cool guys, and I really enjoy their stuff on their blog and in their books, and I've gotten a ton out of it. So I was excited to have him on the show, and we will discuss the many benefits of minimalism, like how can minimalism give you freedom? Can getting rid of stuff make you happy? Tips on becoming a minimalist, answering the what do you do question, and defining happiness. So speaking of minimalism, this show is brought to you by 100mustreads.com. Speed up your business knowledge and download summaries of over 120 of the top business books starting at just $25. To take advantage of this offer, just go to 100mustreads.com. So on to just what I've been up to. I finally made it up to Boulder, and I've been here for about a week, but I actually took a trip back to San Francisco. My mom passed away last month and had to go back to San Francisco for the memorial. So it's been really difficult, disruptive, and all that, but I feel like I'm finally kind of starting to settle in here. Just bought a bike yesterday so I can have some transportation in this town that is filled with bike trails and bike paths and things like that. So looking forward to really getting out there. And on the blog, I just put a blog post up that's gotten a lot of attention and Facebook likes and a few comments. So if you want to check that out, it's called Why the USA is Still Okay for Business and for Living. So that's the latest blog post on freedomlovin.com. And I'd love to hear comments. People like to check it out, and not a ton of comments, but I'd love to hear what you have to say and anything else that you want to hear on the podcast. And if you do like this podcast, please go to the listing on freedomlovin.com and just give us a rating and review on iTunes. That would be tremendously helpful. And I did just add a couple of donation buttons, one for Bitcoin, of course, and the other for PayPal. So if you want to drop a couple of pennies in there or a couple of digits, that would be much appreciated. And for Bitcoin, I don't even care if it's like 1/1000th of a Bitcoin or 1/10,000th of a Bitcoin or whatever. It would be really cool just to have a transaction there. So, and it's super easy to do. I just sent a payment the other day to a web designer. So really fun stuff. And next week I will be on the Nomad Capitalist show. So I'll have a link to that on Freedom Lovin', and if you want to get all the updates, just put in your email there on the top of the page, and we should be good to go. So without further ado, enjoy the interview and go out there and build some freedom. All right. Well, I'm excited to have Ryan Nicodemus on the show today, and he's the half of theminimalists.com, where they have put out books and many awesome blog posts on minimalism. And he's also the co-author of a new book called A Meaningful Life. Hey, Ryan, welcome to Freedom Lovin'.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I wanted to start by reading this quote from your book. It just applies so much to what I've been talking about on my show, and I just think it's awesome. Minimalism is a tool to help you achieve freedom, freedom from fear, freedom from worry, freedom from overwhelm, freedom from guilt, freedom from depression, freedom from enslavement, freedom. Real freedom. So yeah, I love that quote, and it's exactly why I'm kind of in this whole minimalist, I guess you call it a movement or whatever, but you guys were huge influences on me, because I think I had naturally kind of been a minimalist, but I never thought of it. I didn't really have a way to describe it, and I was moving around a little bit, and then I noticed that I was much happier as I was getting rid of stuff. And then I came across your blog, and it was like, you guys are going to be in San Diego the next week. So it's just, everything was perfect timing.
Awesome.
And also, I just moved. I call it moving, but I basically just shifted my location from San Diego to Boulder, Colorado. And I've realized I'm not really doing the minimalist thing right, because I had so much stuff that it was just kind of oozing out of my car, and I barely fit it into the car, and I had to drop off things at friends' houses, and I was scrambling. And so I realized I need to get back to this stuff and take it more seriously. So
Yeah, that's funny. I don't really know what the right way is to do minimalism, but but it sounds like you did a pretty decent job.
yeah. I think I think my friends and family still think I'm like this crazy hippie that hates stuff or something. But
Yeah,
really,
mine
I'm
too.
much more like what you guys describe, which is it's more of just a freeing thing than anything. It's nothing to do with like not or being anti-materialistic or anything like that. So
Yeah, definitely. It's funny. I think that you could certainly throw away every possession you own and still be miserable. I don't think it's a matter of just getting rid of stuff is what makes someone happy. I think people get to a point where their stuff ends up owning them, whether it's, a bunch of little stuff or whether it's a bunch of, big stuff. And what I mean by that is little stuff, you got people who collect magazines and pictures and photo albums and stuff like that. And then, you got people who have cars and houses and boats and those kind of big toys. And yeah, it gets to a point where you feel like your stuff ends up owning you. And when you take that step to start freeing yourself of these anchors, I mean, that's really where the value comes in of getting rid of things, is when you get to that point where you feel stuck and you decide to do something about it. You make that leap, you take that jump, and you start just getting rid of your anchors. And it can be a very freeing feeling, for sure.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love how you call it anchors, because that's how I look at it at this point too. And now, what was your kind of journey into minimalism? How did you start? Like, were you always this way, or did you kind of develop that later on?
No, I grew up like many other people do in this country, just always wanting stuff. I grew up in a poor house. We didn't have a lot. I was always, a video game system behind. I suppose I should feel lucky to have video games. Not even suppose. I definitely should. But, as a kid, and, you've got the Nintendo and all your friends got a Super Nintendo, then, you feel like you're the one left out. So, I grew up with this feeling of want my entire life. And I was very, very fortunate enough to just get in with a really good company and, climb the corporate ladder, through a lot of hard work, of course. And I attribute my corporate success to that hard work. I mean, I was working, 60, 70, sometimes 80-hour weeks. I worked in retail. So, I mean, I literally got 3 days off a year: Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Easter.
Yeah.
And then all the other days, I'm on call or I'm at the stores or whatever. And I was able to earn a very, very substantial income. And I bought everything that I always wanted, whether it was little gadgets, iPad or, a MacBook or, four-wheeler, brand new car, house. I just was spending until my little heart was content, so to speak. But, I got to this point where I just, I was looking at the job I had and the life that I was living, and I just wasn't happy. I know a lot of people get to this point in their life. This is not a new story. But, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was important anymore. I really wanted to figure out a lifestyle that suited me, that would help me get a grip on, what was really important in life. So, at that moment, I started making this shift from, money, status, possessions being important to looking towards something different. And in about that time, Josh, he was kind of going through the same thing. In fact, he had went through it probably about a year earlier than me, maybe a little less than a year earlier.
Sorry, and Josh is your partner on the Minimalists.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, him and I, Josh Fields Milburn, him and I have been best friends for over 20 years, graduated high school together, have went through divorces together. I mean, we've been pretty good friends for, like I said, over 20 years. So we worked at the same company. But yeah, he started feeling this discontent, about a year before me. And he started down this path of minimalism. And I didn't know at the time. I noticed this change in him. And that's actually what prompted me to ask him, hey, what's going on with you? Because you look like you're less stressed. I noticed that you're not working as it's not that he wasn't working as hard. He just wasn't exhausting himself as much. And he was really taking a stand with like our boss. You know, he said, hey, look, I'm not going to answer emails past, you know, a certain time. I'm not going to be next to my phone all the time. If you call me, leave a message. I'll call you back, you know?
Nice.
And he started making those changes. And I'm like, dude, what has gotten into you? And he's like, well, you know, let me send you a few different things I've been reading on the internet. He sent me a few different blogs to look at. There was Leo Babauta's blog, zenhabits.net. Mm-hmm. There was Joshua Becker's blog, becomingminimalist.com. Courtney Carver, her website is bemorewithless.com. Colin Wright, his website is Exile Lifestyle. And, you know, I don't know if you're familiar with any of those blogs that I mentioned, but
absolutely.
So you know that there are 4 different people there, and they all live pretty dramatically different lives. You've got Colin, who travels every 4 months. He owns, you know, less than 50 things, and he, you know, travels all over the world. You got Courtney, who it's, you know, her and her husband. I think she just had a daughter go off to college. And you've got Leo, who's got 6 kids, you know, with his extended family. And then Joshua Becker, who, you know, has his wife, kind of the American dream type situation with, you know, wife, 2.4 kids and all that stuff. So anyways, you've got 4 very different people. And the one thing that I really picked up on was how happy they were and how they were living out what they perceived to be, you know, their own version of a dream. And I really respected that. And they, you know, the second thing is they attributed their happiness and their, you know, contentment, their growth even towards this lifestyle called minimalism. And I said, you know, I've always been someone to try both sides of the spectrum just to kind of see where I end up. I don't have any problem. I never have had a problem kind of, you know, turning my life around on a dime if possible to just, you know, get myself out of any given situation. So I called Josh up. I'm like, great, man, this is awesome. I really dig it. You know, these are really cool people. I'd love to start, you know, minimizing. So, okay, yeah, I'm in. I'm a minimalist. Yeah. Now, now what do I do now?
Right.
So we came up with this idea of a packing party. And that's on our website. And if you go to theminimalist.com/21 days, I actually talk about this 3-week journey that I took into minimalism. I packed up everything in my house in boxes, everything. My toothbrush, like all my toiletries, my sheets, my clothes, my shoes, covered up my furniture with sheets, you know, just literally packed up everything like I was moving. Put everything in my first living room. I don't know why I needed 2 living rooms, but I put everything that I owned in my first living room. It was just, you know, packed to the ceiling with boxes. Everything was really well marked, you know, junk drawer number 1, hall bathroom, junk drawer number 6. You know, I could find stuff up pretty easily. The idea behind this experiment was to really get a grip on what was important. Right. What did I have in my life that I actually used and that actually made a difference? And the way I used this experiment was to unpack things day by day as I needed it. Yeah. So everything was packed up. That first night, you can imagine, I unpacked my, you know, sheets to my bed. I unpacked some toiletries. I unpacked a suit for work the next day. When I came home the next day, what do you think the first thing I unpacked was when I came home?
I don't know, TV.
Yeah, no, good call. TV, and then the next thing was the internet. I mean, and it's funny because those were really key moments for me. It was the second day into the experiment. I come home, I unpack my TV and my computer, and I think to myself, dude, you are like, these things own you. Yeah. Like, what would I do without TV? Well, I mean, computer, and because this was my routine. I'd go home, I'd put on like CNN, or I'd put on some kind of background noise. I'd turn on the internet and I would work.
Right.
That was like my routine. I'd come home and work more. I was just able to do it from home. And then after that, I'd turn off my computer and then I'd watch TV, you know, maybe eat something and then go to sleep.
Right.
And I did that routine for years. It wasn't until that moment that I stopped and thought about the routine that I got myself into. So, I mean, so that's partially why, you know, I knew that I would have moments like that if I did something extreme like a packing party. So, you know, I unpacked things day by day, 21 days. At the end of 3 weeks, I had about 75% of my stuff still packed in boxes.
Yeah.
This was another one of those moments for me. Here I am looking at all this stuff. that I bought to make me happy,
Right.
make things that I needed, and it was not doing its job. In fact, I felt stress. I felt anxiety. I had debt. It was doing the opposite of what I wanted it to do. So, you know what, at that moment, I was like, fine, I'm getting rid of it. Like, I got rid of everything except for, like, some seasonal items. I think I allowed myself to hold on to, like, one box of, like, random stuff that I ended up getting rid of later anyways.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I either, threw it away, I sold it, or I donated it, or, gave it away to a friend or something. So, I got rid of everything, and that was kind of the precipice of this journey. And from there, it was really about just, living more deliberately. People ask me all the time, how do you define minimalism? I get emails all the time. Hey, I need a quote from my book. Define minimalism for me.
Yeah.
It's as simple as just living deliberately. That's what it is for me. It's just a matter of really, not analyzing too much, but making deliberate decisions with the things that you bring into your life, how you spend your time, how you spend your money. And living that way, it feels very good because I don't find myself in situations as much where, I'm looking back, regretting decisions that I've made. I put a lot more thought into it.
Yeah. Do you ever regret like giving stuff away? Like, do you ever think back and go, oh, I wish I had that, whatever?
No. You know what? There was every once in a blue moon, it'll be something really small. Like I got rid of a 3-hole punch not too long ago.
Yeah.
Because it was sitting in my drawer for like 6 months. I had a filing system. I used it. I changed up my filing system. I didn't use it anymore. And then I needed it for some like really random reason. Anyways, and I was like, oh, I threw that 3-hole punch away. But then I figured out a way to make it work. Because applying that principle, I thought to myself, okay, Ryan, really, dude? Like somehow people lived centuries and centuries without 3-hole punches. You think maybe you could find a different way to make this work?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So it really helps me put things in perspective. But if I do miss something, it's very small, it's very brief, and I certainly don't dwell on it. Lose sleep over it.
Yeah, I was looking through my stuff. Even I'm still unpacking here. I just got into town a couple days ago, and I can't believe all the stuff that I kept. I'm going through it and like, what do I need this for? And like 99% of it, even if it was something where like I might regret later, oh, I need this thing, I could go buy it, 3 months from now, and that would actually be much less stressful than keeping all this stuff.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah, there was a guy who in Albuquerque, he told us that he uses Craigslist like a storage facility.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of genius. Like, he had a chainsaw and he had a mower that he wasn't using and, a bunch of stuff that he was holding on to just in case. And he's like, you know what, I'm just going to sell it. If I ever need it, I'll buy it back.
Yeah, exactly. That's been my kind of thing, too. I used Craigslist a ton before I moved, and even just giving stuff away, it doesn't even matter. Like, to me, it's just the stress relief of getting rid of it. Like, if I get $20 or something, or if I give it away for free, it really makes no difference. It's just the idea of getting that out of my life, and that's a great feeling. Do you have any things that you give sentimental value to that keep around, or do you just kind of get rid of most of that stuff?
I don't hold on to anything for sentimental reasons. I do own things that are sentimental, but I don't hold on to them because they are sentimental, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. I've got a beer stein that my grandma brought back from Germany. It's like a little, just like a little, nothing super fancy, but it's something my grandma gave me, and it does mean something to me. But I keep my like loose change in it.
Yeah.
So yes, I do have sentimental things, but if I stopped using that, then I would get rid of it. In fact, I just like cashed in my change at like a Coinstar or something the other day, and I almost got rid of the beer stein because it was empty, and I was like, wait a minute, you're going to need this for more change. So like I had to stop myself from getting rid of it. But I'll tell you why I don't have a lot of sentimental stuff. I certainly don't get rid of it on purpose, but I don't hold on to anything for that specific reason, because I would be holding on to so many things. And, I get more joy out of the memories. I get more joy out of the freed space than I do having that stuff and associating the memories with that stuff. I think there's benefits to both, but I get more benefit out of not holding on to sentimental stuff personally.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And, I was at my parents' house a couple weeks ago, and they just have volumes of old picture books. And it's funny because we don't have to worry about that now. And it's like such a great thing to be living in this day and age where, almost anything can be put on the computer. You can scan things in or whatever, and it just frees up so much space.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So do you have any rules in terms of what you throw out? Like, do you say after 3 months or 6 months or something, I haven't been using this, so I'm just going to get rid of it? Or,
I don't have anything that I really stick to. So the idea is if it sits around for 30 days, less like seasonal items or I don't know. I mean, there's a couple exceptions. Like my snowboard, for example, I'm not going to use it for the next 6 months. I'm not going to throw it away there.
Yeah.
So there's things like that. But, ideally I like to get rid of stuff if it's been sitting around for 30 days or more. But there's some stuff that I don't notice because I'm not like super OCD. So it's not like I'm constantly keeping my possessions in check. So ideally it would be probably 3 months, not 30 days. Some stuff is 30 days, just depending on what it is, like a lot of paperwork I used to hold on to. And now it's like, if I need it, I'll scan it. If not, I'll throw it away 30 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I do try to kind of go by like maybe a 3 month rule, but I don't beat myself up over it if I miss it. Like with that hole puncher, I know I had it for at least 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. There was one part, I think, towards the beginning of your book where you guys are saying, here's the definition of minimalism, and you had you must follow these points, and you got to take step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I thought that was hilarious. Get all anal about it.
Yeah, I liked it too. I thought it was a pretty funny approach. You must be a white male. Yeah. Really, silly stuff.
Cool. And so for books, do you use Kindle, or what do you do with that?
For me, I don't own a Kindle. It just depends on the situation. Most of the stuff I read nowadays are books that we're trying to publish through Asymmetrical.
Okay.
So I print a lot of those out because, I have to edit them. So I'll just print them out on a PDF file, or I'll read it on my computer and make notes there. It just depends on how large the book is. If it's just a small book, I'll print it out because I like doing it that way. But if it's a 200-page novel, then I'll do it on the computer.
Yeah. Okay. So you have a publishing company, or?
Yeah. We moved in with Colin Wright, actually, from Exile Lifestyle.
Yeah.
He's moving out at the end of July to go back on his adventures. But yeah, we started this publishing company called Asymmetrical Press. It's pretty sweet, man. It's basically, it's for indie authors. And what we've done is we've built a community of about 1,500 people who are from all walks. They are editors, they are photographers, they are authors, they are artists, they're formatters, they are whatever. They are PR folks. It's someone it's people who essentially want to help other independent folks either refine their work or, make their work known. And it's totally built off of community interaction, meaning if you go to the community, you could, let's say you, Kevin, had a book you wanted to edit that you needed edited. You could go to the community and just say, hey, I have a book I need edited. Do I have any volunteers? You'll get a couple volunteers. And then, you'll give back because, they gave to you. If you don't give back, then I haven't really seen that in the community, but I would assume that people would probably start ignoring you if you weren't putting in the effort that they were putting in.
Yeah.
But, long story short, it's a really cool community. And then what we've done is we have selected a few people from this community who Josh Collin and I help hands-on with. And we help them with PR personally. We help them with edits personally. We have a team of about 50 interns who help us with, everything from PR to editing to formatting to podcasts. I mean, we've got a nice team under us that helps us kind of get these books out. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at now. We're getting ready to put together a studio piece to it. So if you're an author and you want your book formatted and you've got a deadline, then we've got someone we could recommend that you could hire to do that work for you. Because you know how artists are. They love to get their idea put together, but all of the boring work, it's not really their forte. So anyways, yeah, that's kind of where we're at with it. It's a growing company. We're learning as we go along, and so far so good. And
awesome.
Yeah, we'll keep at it.
Cool. And do you have a website for that?
Yeah, it's asymmetrical.co.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I'm definitely going to check that out. So back to minimalism. So what do you say to people who think that minimalism, or they may say or think that minimalism it's all it is sacrificing things that you actually want, or it's some kind of hippie lifestyle, and they kind of try to put it down like that?
If someone was saying that to me directly, I just would say that they need to look more into what minimalism is and read more on it. I think everyone has their own definition of it, so maybe that is their definition of minimalism, and I mean, I think it's a really silly definition, but to each his own. I don't know, man. I really don't try to talk people into being minimalist or accepting the philosophy. It's more of I do it for myself, and I'm really happy when I meet people who are on the same page, and I'm even happy when I meet people who aren't on the same page, because I think at the very least someone would at least look at it and think that it was a nice way of living, common sense wise.
Yeah.
But even then, I mean, I've had people who really try to pick arguments, especially on the internet. Like, people love to pick arguments on Twitter and Facebook,
YouTube.
YouTube and email and whatever. Honestly, I just ignore those guys. I mean, to me, it's a projection.
Yeah.
They have this idea of what minimalist is. They have an idea on why it's horrible or whatever, and they just go with that, and I just let them rant, because at the end of the day, I really don't care.
Yeah, that's cool. When I met you guys, that's what I really liked, is that there's absolutely no selling of this concept. It's just, this is what we do, this is why it's working for us, and if you like it, great. If not, we're not going to argue.
Right. It's just, you don't have to like it.
Yeah.
I certainly don't think that minimalism is the answer for everybody. It's not the answer. And it was an answer for Josh and I. I probably could have, gotten out of that situation a few different ways, but it certainly has helped me. And yeah, you're right. It's not anything we're trying to sell. It's, hey, here's our experience with it, and we hope that you can benefit from that.
Cool. So now the next question, what do you do? It came up in your book. I was reading that, and I wanted to ask that to you. So what do you answer when someone asks you, what do you do?
Oh, I usually am a jerk. I kind of like to mess around with that question. So when someone would be like, "Oh, what do you do?" I'd be like, "Oh, I snowboard. I really like hiking in the woods."
Yeah.
And I'll start naming some hobbies. I like to write sometimes. No, what do you do for a living? And I'm like, "Oh, you want to know how I make money?"
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. I guess I have a website, and we make money off of that. And I just kind of, I don't really go into, I mean, if they want to know more about it, I'll tell them, but I usually do kind of have fun with it. Yeah, I'll tell you though, in Missoula, I don't get asked that question a lot.
Really? Huh.
Yeah. I can count on one hand how many times I've got asked that, and, kind of had some fun with it. But for the most part, I don't get asked that here. But if I do, I usually have fun with it. I mean, if they really are oh, okay, well, how do you make money online? I just kind of tell them. I was answering an email the other day because honestly, we don't make money one way. I mean, it's I've got my mentoring classes. Josh has his writing course. We have the books. There's a million different ways that we are able to make a living on there. So
yeah, it's
a very complicated answer when people start really questioning me on it.
Yeah, exactly. I went for a while. I just absolutely hated that question, and I cringe when anyone would ask it. But it's so common when you meet someone new. What do you do? And for a while, I would just, instead of getting into it, I just go, I do stuff on the internet. I market stuff, and I didn't even want them to ask a follow-up question, because then I'd have to explain more details about boring stuff. So then I started doing kind of more what you do, is I like travel and this and that, and then when I started this blog, Freedom Lovin', it wasn't out of any, this isn't a business at this point, so I just would tell people about that instead of the other stuff that I do. Mm-hmm. So it's I'm going to talk about what I'm passionate about, whether you care or not. That's more interesting, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so, okay, so the next one, what is happiness to you? It's a line from Vanilla Sky. I don't know if you saw that movie, but they repeat it over and over, and it's kind of the theme when Cameron Diaz asks it to the Tom Cruise character. David, what is happiness to you?
I would say, to me, happiness is really about me living a successful life. And we actually wrote an essay on the definition of success. The definition is this: it's contributing and growing in a meaningful way And there was a third one in there. I'm trying to remember. But, to me, it's not about money. It's not about a title. It's not about selling a certain amount of books. Really, to me, if I'm adding value to other people, if I'm growing, like that, those are the two most important things to me. When, studies are done on the basic human needs, they typically fall in 6 categories, and growth and contribution are 2 of those categories. And for me, I think those are the most important for happiness. I really enjoy, that we are able to talk to hundreds of thousands of people via our website and our essays and our books, and that, we're able to help people out. This is what I was asking for, when I first started going down the road of wanting to leave my job. I'm like, man, so if I could do anything I want, what would I want to do? And I'm like, really? Like, I don't want to be a millionaire. Like, that's not my goal. My goal is I want to add value. I want to make a difference. I think that's a lot of people who say that, and, I am able to do that. And that enables me to grow as well. So, growth and contribution for me are the 2 biggest for happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear that all the time from successful people. That's what it comes down to. And so in terms of how can minimalism be beneficial in areas besides just having less stuff? Like, you guys talk a lot about relationships, and I think that's really important, and especially just on what you were just saying with growth, and I think that applies also to relationships. How do you see that? How do you see minimalism in other areas?
The thing that minimalism really did for me is it helped me to put a list together of what I wanted to spend my life focusing on. Mm-hmm. And we talk about it, and we talk about it in our book, Live a Meaningful Life. The first thing is health. If you're unhealthy, you're depressed. So minimalism has helped me focus on my health. It's helped me focus on relationships. I've been able to foster the primary relationships that I was ignoring, and I've been able to shed the unwanted, superfluous relationships that I had. So minimalism's helped me that way with relationships. The third thing we talk about is, pursuing a passion or cultivating a passion is probably a better way to say that. But, if you are working 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week, and, if you are like how I was, and you are in that routine of come home, do a little bit more work, maybe eat some dinner, watch TV, go to bed, get up, go to work, come home, rinse, repeat. Yeah. You get stuck in that cycle. If you're not doing anything for yourself and you're only living for your job and you're only living for, other people, it makes for a very uncomfortable, discontent, depressing situation. So I've been able to focus more on what I'm passionate about, which is helping others, or snowboarding, or writing, or, whatever. I've been able to focus a lot more on those things. And then the last 2, we just talked about growth and contribution. Yep. I've certainly been able to do that because of minimalism. So those are the things that minimalism has really helped me focus on.
Really cool stuff. Really cool. So you guys are working on the publishing company now, and anything else that you got going on? Or
publishing company, Josh has got a book coming out called Everything That Remains. It's a very unique book. I don't think it's ever been done before. So it's basically a narrative of us after we discovered minimalism. And it kind of talks about, where we're at now, that we have, kind of where we're at now in our journey, and where and how we got there. And then I am adding in footnotes to his book. So you'll be reading it, but then there'll be like a footnote. You got to stop and read my 2 cents on the issue. We had a lot of fun with it, and we are having a lot of fun with it. It's very humorous. If you follow us on Twitter, you know that we're like the goofiest, non-serious guys there are. Yeah, so it's a very humorous book, although it's very personal and very serious as well. So no, I'm really looking forward to getting that launched. That should be towards the end of this year. We're working on Asymmetrical. I'm working on my book Unstuck, which is coming along slowly but surely. Yeah, so those are probably the big 3 things right now.
Cool. Yeah, it sounds like you got a lot going on.
Yeah.
For a minimalist.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I've been talking to Ryan Nicodemus of theminimalist.com and asymmetrical.co, and I actually have to Google that and to find out how to spell it. But
ASYMMETRICAL.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, let's check that out. But hey, yeah, good luck with all the stuff you have going on, and thanks so much for coming on the show. I really enjoyed chatting.
No, it was my pleasure, Kevin. Thanks for reaching out.
Every facet, every department of your mind is to be programmed by you. And unless you assume the rightful responsibility and begin to program your own mind, the world will program it for you.